Most people think they control their desires. They believe self-discipline means mastery, that by suppressing temptation, by avoiding it, denying it, ignoring it, they've won. But Carl Jung didn't see it that way. He believed that what you repress doesn't disappear. It waits. It grows. And eventually, it governs you from the shadows. This is especially true when it comes to sex. Not just the act, but the energy, the force, the fire that sits beneath your ambitions, your fears, your relationships, your silence. You don't need to act on it for it to act through you. You can be celibate and still be controlled by it. You can pretend it doesn't matter, laugh it off, spiritualize it, demonize it, and still be enslaved by the very thing you thought you buried. Because the sexual self is not optional, it's primal. And when denied expression, it doesn't disappear. It mutates into aggression, into shame, into obsession, into control. Jung believed that every unresolved desire finds a back door into your psyche. Through your dreams, your addictions, your fantasies, your sudden bursts of jealousy, rage, envy, fear. You think you're being moral. You think you're being above it. But in truth, you're being ruled, not by the desire itself, but by the part of you that refuses to face it. So the question is, what happens when your denial becomes your default? When the part of you that you've silenced starts writing the script of your entire life, and you don't even notice. In this video, we're going to face it, not to indulge it, but to understand it. Because Jung didn't believe in purity, he believed in wholeness. And you cannot be whole when you're at war with your own fire. No one is born ashamed of desire. Shame is taught, carved into us long before we understand what we're even feeling. And that's where the fracture begins. As a child, your body changes. You feel things, warmth, curiosity, arousal, long before you have language for them. And the moment those feelings show, the world flinches. Your parents look away. Your teachers correct you. Your church condemns you. Your culture laughs, mocks, warns, threatens. So you learn. This part of me is dangerous. This part of me is unlovable. This part of me must be hidden. And you hide it. But it doesn't die. It just goes underground, deep into the unconscious. Carl Jung called this the birth of the shadow, the part of the self that carries everything you've disowned to be accepted. Your sexual energy doesn't disappear. It just changes form. It becomes obsession. It becomes anxiety. It becomes that quiet ache you feel in relationships where you can't fully be yourself. And because it was never named, it becomes your phantom. It moves through you without permission. You chase people not because you love them, but because they mirror a part of you you never claimed. You sabotage closeness because intimacy threatens to expose the part of you you're still hiding. This is what Jung meant when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." You think you're making choices, but it's the shadow choosing for you. It wants out. It wants light. It wants integration. And it will find a way, through dreams, through compulsions, through the exact relationships that trigger your deepest fears. But instead of listening, you moralize. You double down. You suppress harder. And every time you do, your shadow becomes more extreme. Not because it's evil, but because it's desperate. You're not just denying pleasure. You're denying power. Because sexual energy, when integrated, becomes creativity, charisma, confidence, command. But when suppressed, It becomes a silent tyrant, running your life in the background while you keep pretending to be in control. You grow up, you move out, you gain freedom. But the voice that told you desire was dangerous, it doesn't leave. It becomes internal. Now it sounds like discipline, like self-respect, like ambition. You convince yourself you've outgrown your cravings, that you've transcended them, that you're above them. But you haven't. You've just disguised your suppression as maturity. You overwork. You overtrain. You become the master of delayed gratification, but not because you're truly free, because you're still terrified of losing control. Carl Jung saw this as one of the most sophisticated forms of spiritual bypassing. He believed many people confuse avoidance with evolution. They think that by staying far from their impulses, they're winning. But in reality, they've just put a mask on their fear. And here's the problem. Fear doesn't create transformation. It creates fragmentation. You split again, this time between the ideal self and the real self. You meditate, you fast, you quote ancient texts, you build a life of order and structure and virtue. But deep down, you still feel empty, restless, unseen. You find yourself drawn to things you can't explain, attracted to people you claim to disapprove of, fantasizing about scenarios that conflict with your values, and then judging yourself for it, punishing yourself, repeating the cycle. Because you didn't integrate the energy, you exiled it, and anything you exile will haunt you. Jung believed that sexual energy, in its pure form, is neutral. It becomes destructive only when denied. Because what you push down doesn't die. It festers. And what festers eventually bursts. Not always in affairs. Not always in scandal. Sometimes it comes out in coldness, in perfectionism, in your inability to connect deeply, even with people who love you. So you keep searching for peace. But peace doesn't come from control. It comes from acceptance. And you can't accept what you've never looked at. Carl Jung didn't see sexual energy as a threat. He saw it as a mirror, a direct reflection of your relationship with your deepest instincts. Not just lust, but hunger, for life, for intimacy, for connection, for freedom. He believed that when we reject this force, we're not becoming purer, we're becoming weaker. Because you can't amputate your instinct without also cutting off your vitality. You can't kill desire without also killing creativity. You can't silence your body without slowly muting your soul. Jung called this disowned energy the sexual shadow. Not because it's evil, but because it's been pushed into the dark. And what lives in the dark gains power in ways you don't understand. He wrote, "The acceptance of the shadow is the pathway to wholeness." Because when you integrate your sexual self, when you stop moralizing it, apologizing for it, hiding it, you begin to reclaim something sacred. Self-trust. You no longer fear your own fire. You direct it. You shape it. You let it fuel your expression, your presence, your magnetism. That's the real danger of repression. Not that it turns you into a monk, but that it turns you into a ghost, polished on the outside, disconnected on the inside. You become polite, productive, predictable, but dead where it matters. Because the energy you deny isn't just sexual, it's personal. It's the rawest, realest part of you. The part that wants, that craves, that breaks rules, not to destroy, but to live. And maybe that's why you've been feeling so contained, like something in you is locked, muted, held back. That's not a flaw. That's your shadow waiting to be seen. If you've ever felt like you were built for more, but can't explain what's missing, if you've felt the tension between control and curiosity, subscribe. Not because this will fix you, but because this might finally help you see where your power's been hiding. When you deny your sexual energy, it doesn't disappear. It redistributes. It leaks into your work, your friendships, your ambitions, your addictions. It colors how you speak, how you dress, how you walk into a room. And most dangerously, it infiltrates your relationships. You become hyper-attached or emotionally numb. You chase unavailable people or destroy intimacy the moment it feels real. Not because you're broken, but because you've spent so long avoiding your own fire. You don't know what to do when someone else reflects it back at you. Carl Jung warned that when desire is not integrated, it becomes distortion. You don't see people as they are. You see them through the lens of what you've repressed. You idealize. You obsess. You project. Because you're not looking at them. You're looking for yourself in them. And it never works. Because no one can embody the part of you you're still refusing to claim. This is why relationships collapse. Not because of incompatibility, but because of projection fatigue. Because you're secretly asking someone to carry a part of you you're afraid to hold. You think you're craving love. But what you're really craving is permission. To feel. To want. To reclaim. Jung believed that integrated sexual energy is not chaotic. It's creative. It's what fuels your art, your presence, your intuition. He saw libido not just as sexual impulse, but as life force. A current that, when embraced, can elevate your mind and deepen your soul. But when it's suppressed, that same current turns in on itself. You become restless. You procrastinate. You lose passion, focus, vitality. You begin to feel like a stranger in your own body, half awake in your own life, and you wonder why. You think maybe you need more discipline, more meditation, more structure. But maybe you don't need more control. You need more permission. To be fully human. To stop apologizing for the parts of you that burn. Integration doesn't mean acting on every impulse. It means understanding it, honoring it, letting it speak, not rule, letting it move through you, not bury you. When you stop running from your sexual energy, you don't become reckless. You become clear. You speak differently. You move differently. People feel something in your presence they can't quite explain. A groundedness, a magnetism, a depth. That's what happens when the part of you you've exiled comes home. Carl Jung believed that the integration of libido, the core energy of desire, was the key to becoming whole. Not holy, not pure, whole. Because once that fire is no longer fragmented, you don't seek power. You embody it. You no longer try to impress. You command. You no longer seek validation. You radiate self-ownership. And maybe for the first time in your life, you stop performing. You stop dressing for approval. You stop apologizing for your ambition. You stop dumbing yourself down to stay safe. Because safety never came from hiding. And presence never came from perfection. It came from permission. To be complete. To feel pleasure without shame. To want without guilt. To burn without fear of being consumed. This isn't about sex. It's about energy. The same energy that drives you to create, to risk, to lead, to love. The energy that becomes vision when directed, wisdom when reflected, and fire when claimed. So you stop asking if your desires make you bad, and you start asking if your fear of them is what's been keeping you small. You realize, It was never the desire that was dangerous. It was the silence around it. Integration doesn't end with a moment of clarity. It begins with one. When you finally stop asking, "Is this part of me wrong?" and start asking, "What happens if I never claim it? What happens to the fire you were told to hide? What happens to the power you were taught to fear? What happens to the part of you that only shows up in silence, in secrets, in shame?" It doesn't disappear. It becomes the quiet dictator of your life. You say yes when you mean no. You stay in relationships that dim you. You suppress your voice, your want, your instinct, until you don't even recognize who you've become. Not because you're weak, but because you were taught that wholeness was dangerous, that to be accepted, you had to amputate the very part of you that made you alive. But now you know. You know your cravings are maps. Your urges are messengers. Your shadow is not your enemy. It's the part of you that's been holding the blueprint for your freedom all along. So here's the real question. If you stopped fearing your own desire, what version of you would finally be free to exist? Because integration isn't about control. It's about reunion. And when that reunion happens, when you stop apologizing for what's always been inside you, you don't just heal, you ignite. And if this message reached something inside you that words couldn't touch before, you're ready. Because in the next video, we're not just confronting desire, we're confronting demand, the kind that seems innocent, but slowly erodes your identity. If you've ever said yes to someone when your soul screamed no, don't miss what's coming.